Right now, at this very moment, 37 million people are planning to step off a cruise ship in 2025. That's more passengers than the entire population of Canada. And here's what will blow your mind. Scientists recently tracked exactly where human eyes fixate longest when viewing port arrivals, using eye-tracking technology on 1,000 participants viewing port photographs. What they discovered changes everything we thought we knew about the world's most stunning destinations. But here's the twist nobody saw coming. Number one on our list isn't some tropical paradise you've seen 1,000 times. It's a place that made test subjects stare 23% longer than the average port. And before we reach that final reveal, I'm going to show you something at number 3 that's been welcoming ships since ancient Roman times, yet most travelers have never heard of it. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover will transform how you think about travel forever. Let's talk about what makes a port truly unforgettable. In 2025, researchers at Formus Labs did something fascinating. They didn't ask people which ports they liked best. They didn't rely on travel reviews or Instagram likes. Instead, they measured something far more honest. Where human eyes naturally gravitate when they see these places for the first time. The results were stunning. They strapped eye-tracking goggles on 1,000 participants and showed them arrival images from ports around the world. Think about that for a second. This wasn't about what people thought they should like. This was about what genuinely captures human attention at the deepest, most instinctive level. And what they found reveals something profound about beauty itself. The researchers measured both how long eyes lingered on each image and how frequently participants' gazes returned to specific features. Some ports held viewers' attention for mere seconds. Others? People couldn't look away. Their eyes would trace the coastlines, linger on the architecture, return again and again to specific details. But here's where it gets interesting. The ports that scored highest weren't always the ones you'd expect. Some of the world's most famous destinations barely made the cut, while others, places that cruise lines have been quietly visiting for decades, suddenly revealed themselves as visual masterpieces. The cruise industry itself is experiencing something unprecedented. We're talking about a $168 billion global impact this year. 310 vessels carrying passengers to corners of the world most people only dream about. And the patterns emerging from 2025 tell us something crucial. Travelers aren't just looking for pretty views anymore. They want ports that combine 3 specific elements. Breathtaking natural beauty, yes, but also historical significance that makes you feel connected to something larger than yourself, and experiences you simply cannot have anywhere else on the planet. So, what makes a port worthy of your bucket list? Let me take you on a journey through 7 ports that scored highest in that groundbreaking study. We're counting down from 7 to 1, and trust me, you'll want to hear what claimed the top spot. 7. Sydney, Australia. Imagine this moment. Your ship glides through Sydney Harbour at dawn. The water mirrors the sky in shades of gold and pink. And then you see them. The Opera House sails, white and luminous, catching the first light of day. The harbour bridge arching overhead like a steel rainbow. The city skyline rising behind them, glass towers reflecting the morning sun. This is what visual perfection looks like. The overseas passenger terminal docks you right in the heart of it all. Not a 30-minute shuttle ride. Not a tender boat transfer where you wait for smaller boats to ferry you ashore. You step off the ship and you're already immersed in one of the world's most iconic cityscapes. Here's what makes Sydney special in 2025. The Australia Pacific cruise market is rising 12% this year. Luxury lines like Silversea are adding something extraordinary, immersive indigenous cultural stops that connect you to 40,000 years of continuous human history. These aren't token gestures. These are deep experiences led by Aboriginal guides who share stories that have been passed down for hundreds of generations. You can climb the Harbour Bridge for 360-degree views that stretch from the Blue Mountains to the Pacific horizon. You can ferry to Manly Beach, where the ocean meets the harbor in perfect turquoise. You can stand beneath the Opera House and feel the weight of architectural genius that changed how the world thinks about buildings. But Sydney is just the beginning, because what's coming at number 6 will transport you to a continent where pastel colors tell stories of empires and revolution. Number 6. Lisbon, Portugal. Close your eyes and picture this. Your cruise ship approaches Lisbon along the Tagus River. Ahead of you rises a bridge so massive it makes San Francisco's Golden Gate look modest. This is the 25 de Abril Bridge, and gliding beneath it feels like passing through a gateway to another era. Then the city reveals itself. Terracotta roofs cascade down hillsides. Moorish fortresses stand sentinel over the harbor. White and yellow buildings seem to glow in the Portuguese sun. It's pure postcard magic, exactly as the study participants described when their eyes lingered on this particular arrival. The port's riverside location is strategically perfect. You're immediately in the Alfama district, where narrow streets wind through neighborhoods that have barely changed in centuries. Ride the iconic Tram 28 as it rattles through impossibly tight corners. Day trip to Sintra, where fairy tale palaces perch on misty mountaintops. And whatever you do, don't leave without tasting pastel de nata, those custard tarts that Portugal perfected centuries ago. Here's what's happening in Lisbon right now. Portugal's ports welcomed 1.8 million visitors in 2024. But 2025 is different. European sailings, which represent 17% of global cruise traffic, are shifting dramatically towards sustainable, shorter itineraries. 7 to 8 day cruises are becoming the new standard, perfect for working professionals who can't take extended time off. And Lisbon is leading the charge with eco-fees that fund conservation. Your tourist dollars are directly protecting the historic tramways, restoring crumbling facades, and maintaining the city's UNESCO heritage sites. The cruise industry learned hard lessons from over-tourism. Modern cruising is about leaving destinations better than you found them. But speaking of leaving marks on history, our next destination has been welcoming travelers for so long that empires have risen and fallen at its docks. 5. Nassau, Bahamas. Now we're entering the Caribbean, where cruise travel was practically invented. Nassau tops a very specific list. It receives over 1,200 ship calls in 2025. That's more than any other port in the Western Caribbean. And when you see it from the water, you understand why cruise lines keep coming back. Turquoise water's so clear you can see the seafloor 30 feet down. Pastel colonial buildings in shades of pink, yellow, and mint green. Palm trees framing white sand beaches that seem to glow in the sunlight. But here's what most travelers don't know. Nassau wasn't always this picture-perfect paradise. Once upon a time, this harbor belonged to Blackbeard himself. The most feared pirate in history made these waters his hunting ground. Today, those pirate days live on in the tourist experience. You can climb the Queen's Staircase, 65 steps carved from solid limestone by enslaved people in the 1790s. You can explore Fort Fincastle, built to protect the harbor from Spanish invaders. And here's the bucket list moment that's driving bookings through the roof. You can take a day trip to Exuma Cays and swim with pigs on a deserted beach. Yes, you read that right. Swimming pigs, wild pigs that paddle out to greet boats, hoping for snacks. It's quirky, it's Instagram gold, and it's become one of the most requested excursions in the entire Caribbean. This matters because the Caribbean and Bahamas region claims 63.4% of global cruise bookings. That's not a typo. Nearly 2 out of every 3 cruise passengers choose Caribbean itineraries. And millennials and Gen Z, who now represent 40% of all cruise bookers, are driving demand specifically for Instagram-worthy experiences like swimming pigs and private island stops like Coco Cay. Why such Caribbean dominance? Accessibility, year-round warm weather, and ports like Nassau that deliver exactly what travelers crave: easy beach access, rich history, and experiences that make great stories back home. But the Caribbean, for all its beauty, is about to be challenged by what's coming next. Because number 4 takes us to a region where medieval charm meets cutting-edge sustainability. 4. Stockholm, Sweden. Sailing into Stockholm isn't just an arrival. It's a performance that unfolds over hours. Your ship navigates through the Stockholm archipelago, a labyrinth of 30,000 islands. Yes, 30,000. Imagine that. For hours, your ship weaves between forested islands, past red cottages perched on rocky shores, through waterways so serene they look like glass. The study participants had one of the quickest fixation times here, but not because Stockholm is boring. Their eyes couldn't settle on any single thing. There was too much beauty, too many details competing for attention. The researchers noted that viewers' gazes darted constantly, trying to absorb everything at once. When you finally dock at Stadsgården Terminal, your steps from Gamla Stan, Stockholm's old town. Cobblestone streets wind between buildings painted in warm yellows and oranges. Medieval architecture stands perfectly preserved, like a film set that forgot to take itself down. Here's what makes Stockholm crucial in 2025. Baltic cruises are booming. Northern Europe itineraries are up 18% this year, driven largely by Viking-themed voyages that connect modern Scandinavians to their seafaring ancestors. These aren't cheesy costume affairs. These are historically accurate experiences with archaeologists and historians bringing the Viking Age to life. You can stroll through royal palaces where Swedish monarchs have lived for centuries. In winter, if you're lucky, you might chase the northern lights as they dance across Arctic skies. In summer, you'll experience something equally surreal, 19-hour days where sunset seems to last forever. And Stockholm represents something bigger. 80% of new cruise ships now feature green technology like LNG propulsion, which dramatically reduces emissions. Ports like Stockholm are leading the environmental charge, proving that tourism and conservation can coexist. But here's the question now. What happens when you take Stockholm's commitment to preservation and multiply it by 2,000 years of continuous human history? That's exactly what's waiting at number 3. 3. Palermo, Sicily, Italy. This port has welcomed ships since ancient times. When Roman galleys loaded grain bound for Rome, they did it here. When Norman conquerors arrived to claim Sicily, they sailed through these waters. When Allied forces liberated Italy in World War II, they passed through this harbor. The harbor itself has evolved, but Palermo's strategic importance has never wavered for over 2 millennia. Palermo glows during golden hour, that magical time just before sunset, when everything seems touched by honey-colored light. Sandstone buildings frame the Tyrrhenian Sea. The city rises from the waterfront in layers, each one revealing a different architectural influence. Greek temples, Arab domes, Norman fortresses, Baroque churches, all coexisting in beautiful chaos. You'll take a short tender ride to shore, and then chaos greets you. The good kind of chaos. The kind that comes from a city that has never stopped living. Dive into Ballarò Market where vendors shout in Italian and dialect that hasn't changed in generations. The air smells like frying olive oil, fresh seafood, and something sweet you can't quite identify. This is where you find arancini, those golden rice balls stuffed with ragu that are Sicily's answer to fast food. Tour the opulent Teatro Massimo, one of the largest opera houses in Europe. Stand in the same building where the final scenes of The Godfather Part 3 were filmed. And here's what makes Palermo perfect for 2025. Sicily's ports handled 2.5 million cruise passengers in 2024. But this year shows a 25% rise specifically in foodie-themed Mediterranean sailings. Cruise lines are partnering with local chefs for market tours, cooking classes, and wine tastings in family-owned vineyards. Travelers aren't just visiting ports anymore. They're eating their way through them. They're learning to make pasta from Sicilian grandmothers. They're tasting wines that have been made the same way for centuries. Palermo earned third place in visual appeal for a reason. It offers what every great port should: a sensory overload that stays with you long after you've returned home. The study showed viewers' eyes lingering on the market scenes, the architectural details, the way light plays across ancient stone. But we're about to leave the Mediterranean behind. Because number 2 takes us to a place so remote, so dramatic, that reaching it feels like achieving something impossible. 2. Ushuaia, Argentina. They call it the end of the world, and from the deck of a cruise ship, you understand why. Ushuaia sits at the base of snow-capped Andes Mountains. Fjord-like channels cut through the landscape. The water is dark and deep, reflecting clouds that seem to move in slow motion. This is the world's southernmost city, the last outpost of civilization before Antarctica. And when ships navigate the Beagle Channel heading here, passengers crowd the rails to watch sea lions bark from rocky outcrops and albatross wheel overhead on wings that span 10 feet. The study ranked Ushuaia second for its dramatic arrival. Test subjects described feeling something beyond visual appeal. They felt awe. They felt small. They felt like they were arriving somewhere that mattered. The researchers noted unusually long fixation times on the mountain peaks and the interplay between snow and water. Ushuaia is the gateway to Antarctica, and that simple fact explains everything happening here in 2025. Antarctic cruise bookings surged 20% this year, according to CLIA data. But here's what makes this trend significant. Eco-focused lines like Hurtigruten are emphasizing low-emission voyages, recognizing that Antarctica's pristine wilderness must be protected even as more people want to experience it. These aren't massive party ships. These are expedition vessels with onboard naturalists, strict environmental protocols, and passenger limits designed to minimize impact. You're not just taking a cruise, you're participating in responsible exploration. You can ride the historic end-of-the-world train through Tierra del Fuego National Park. The narrow-gauge railway was built by prisoners in the early 1900s, carrying logs from forest to town. Today it carries tourists through landscapes that look like the edge of existence itself. Forests of southern beech trees, rivers cutting through peat bogs, mountains rising into perpetual mist. Stand on the shore and look south. There's nothing between you and Antarctica but ocean. No land, no islands, just 600 miles of the stormiest seas on Earth. This is what number 2 looks like. A place so powerful it makes you reconsider your own significance. But before I reveal what topped even this dramatic arrival, I need to know something. Drop a comment below and tell me which port has captured your imagination most so far. Sydney's iconic Harbour, Stockholm's archipelago, or maybe you're dreaming of swimming with pigs in Nassau, because what I'm about to reveal might surprise even the most experienced travelers among you. 1. Valletta, Malta. This is it, the port that made test subjects fixate longest. The place that topped the study as the most visually stunning arrival on Earth, with viewers staring 23% longer than the average port in the study. Valletta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the smallest capital city in the European Union. And when your ship enters Grand Harbour, you understand immediately why it claimed first place. Golden limestone facades catch the Mediterranean sun and seem to glow from within. The harbor's azure waters reflect that light back up, creating an effect that photographers call magic hour. Except here, it lasts all day. Buildings rise in perfect geometric precision. Fortifications built by the Knights of St. John in the 1500s to withstand Ottoman sieges. The eye-tracking data revealed something fascinating. Viewers' gazes would fixate on the golden stone, then trace the harbor walls, then return to the stone, creating a loop of visual satisfaction. The interplay of light, water, and architecture created what researchers called optimal visual harmony. The entire city is a 15-minute walk from the cruise dock. 15 minutes. No buses, no tenders. You step off your ship and you're in one of Europe's most historically significant locations. Explore St. John's Co-Cathedral, where Baroque masterpieces cover every surface. Caravaggio's The Beheading of St. John the Baptist hangs here, one of the most important paintings in Western art. Stand in Upper Baraka Gardens and watch traditional fishing boats called luzus bob in water so clear it looks artificial. Walk streets that have known centuries of human drama, from Ottoman sieges to World War II bombings. Malta welcomed over 1 million cruise passengers in 2024. But 2025 itineraries are up 15% due to new Mediterranean routes. Cruise lines are recognizing what the study proved. Valletta offers something no other port can match. It's not the biggest. Sydney's Harbour is grander. It's not the most famous. Everyone knows about Caribbean beaches. It's not even the most convenient compared to modern terminals. But it is the most beautiful. Here's why that matters. In an age of Instagram filters and digital manipulation, in a world where everything is designed to capture attention, Valletta doesn't need tricks. It simply exists, exactly as it has for half a millennium, confident in its own magnificence. The study measured genuine human response. What makes eyes linger? What makes hearts skip? What makes travelers feel like they've discovered something precious? Valletta is that place. Now let's talk logistics, because dreams mean nothing without execution. These 7 ports aren't just pretty, they're accessible. Major cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, and Viking all visit them regularly. You can book itineraries starting at around $1,500 per person for 7 nights. That's a starting price for inside cabins with double occupancy, and it includes accommodation, meals, entertainment, and transportation between multiple destinations. To put that in perspective, that's often less than most people spend on a week-long land vacation when you factor in hotels, restaurants, and getting between cities. The average cruise itinerary now runs 7 to 8 days, as we've mentioned. Many modern ships feature smart technology, apps that help plan excursions based on your interests. Royal Caribbean's app, for example, lets you book shore excursions, make dining reservations, and even track your luggage, all from your phone. Here's something important to understand. This is the 3rd straight year of record numbers, which means ships are selling out faster. If you're serious about visiting these ports, especially popular ones like Valletta or Nassau, booking early matters more than ever. Prime sailing dates for Mediterranean ports, typically May through September, can fill up 6 months in advance. And if environmental impact concerns you, that's actually easier to address than ever. Look for cruise lines emphasizing green technology. The 80% of new ships with LNG propulsion aren't just marketing claims. These vessels produce significantly fewer emissions than traditional diesel engines. Some ports like Venice and Dubrovnik now charge eco-fees that directly fund conservation efforts, restoration projects, and infrastructure improvements. Hidden gems are emerging too. Oman's Port Sultan Qaboos is trending up 30% for travelers seeking offbeat luxury experiences away from crowded Mediterranean hotspots. The Asia-Pacific region is growing steadily, with ports like Singapore offering futuristic skylines and Cape Town providing Table Mountain as a dramatic backdrop. The industry learned its lessons. Responsible cruising is now about balancing tourism with preservation, ensuring these stunning ports remain stunning for future generations. So here we are, at the end of our journey through the world's most stunning cruise ports. From Sydney's iconic harbour, where indigenous stories span 40,000 years, to Valletta's golden glow that captured human attention longer than anywhere else on Earth. From Stockholm's 30,000 islands to Ushuaia's edge-of-the-world drama. Each port offers something irreplaceable. The 2025 Formus Labs study didn't just rank beautiful places. It revealed something profound about what human beings need from travel. We need beauty that stops us in our tracks. We need history that connects us to something larger. We need experiences that can't be replicated anywhere else. These 7 ports deliver all 3. 37 million people will cruise this year. The question is, will you be one of them? Will you stand on deck as your ship glides into Grand Harbor? Will you watch the Andes rise from Tierra del Fuego? Will you walk streets in Palermo that have witnessed 2,000 years of human story? Will you swim with those ridiculous, wonderful pigs in the Bahamas? If you made it this far, if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, type Golden Harbor in the comments. It's our secret phrase for the loyal viewers who actually finish videos. Plus, tell me which port captured your imagination most. Sydney? Valletta? Or maybe somewhere completely different? And if you found value in this deep dive into the world's most stunning cruise ports, consider subscribing. We explore travel, adventure, and the places that make this planet extraordinary. No clickbait, no shallow content, just thoughtful exploration of destinations that deserve your time. The world is vast. Life is short. These 7 ports remind us that sometimes the journey really is the destination.